So I know that I wanted to focus this presentation on what's new in the Global Compact, but very quickly I'll touch on what you are already aware that the Global Compact has. So the Global Compact is an opportunity for companies and for other stakeholders around the world to connect with each other, to exchange in best practices. So as usual, we're going to be organizing our events. We have our flagship events, such as our Leaders Summit every year, as well as our private sector forum. I myself am in New York today. We had our private sector forum yesterday, bringing together over 600 people from around the world, including non-businesses, as well as, of course, the private sector. And we will continue our flagship events, but hopefully there will be a lot more regional and local opportunities to come together. And indeed, our local networks, including our Bulgarian local network, are collaborating with networks across the region to organize local and regional events. So this has been going on since the start of the Global Compact. It's nothing new, but what we're going to see new is more regional opportunities and more local opportunities, I would say. In addition to that, another important program delivery mechanism of the Global Compact is the Global Compact Academy. I really do hope many of you have been using the Academy. It is a phenomenal tool. It is essentially an online sustainability platform, which allows you, interestingly, to onboard each and every single employee in your company. So if you're trying to think about how you want to teach your employees more about sustainability and increase their understanding about sustainability, you can reach out to us and we can make sure that each and every one of your employees is signed on to the Academy, has their own sign on, and can develop their own learning journey. So this is really, really a fantastic tool. It's now open to everybody. It used to be closed for what we call participants with a capital P. We don't have these tiers anymore. Everybody's a participant. We don't differentiate between signatory and participant. Everybody's a participant. So everyone in the Global Compact now has access to the Academy, and you can onboard all of your employees. What is also new moving forward is we're going to be also regionalizing and localizing the content of the Academy. So we're going to be working with our local networks to develop more local and regional content that will be more relevant to your national priorities and trends. Now I come to another programmatic delivery mechanism. It's called the peer learning group. Peer learning groups are brand new. We never used to have them. Peer learning groups are opportunities for companies to come together in groups of around 30 or 40 or so to exchange, to identify key trends, and to also develop and deliver content. So we're going to be working with our local networks around the world to run local peer learning groups. We are yet to launch these, but we are going to be discussing very soon in the coming weeks with our local networks on how they can be rolling out these learning groups. And so once they are up and running, I very much encourage that you come together in these learning groups that will be on a number of different topics, including on environment, including on human rights, on anti-corruption, all sorts of issue areas. So this is to come very, very soon. It's a great opportunity for you to benchmark with other companies within similar sectors or within even a similar region. So this is yet to come. Then we have our accelerator programs. Our accelerator programs have been running now for, I believe, 3 years. And I believe that the Bulgarian network has been running this. Maybe, Darina, you could speak to this later. And so these accelerator programs are really important because, you know, when I was talking about those impact goals, we work with our companies and we help them set these ambitious goals. So currently we have what we call SDG Ambition Accelerator. It's a 6-month program that we roll out with Accenture to help you align with a set of 10 benchmarks, including on the 1.5, amongst other benchmarks. We also have another accelerator called Target Gender Equality, whereby companies are supported through the WEPS analysis tool to identify their gaps in increasing women representation in leadership positions. And so this is already another opportunity for companies to come together, use a very good tool to identify where their gaps are, and then set ambitious goals to close those gaps and to work with others so that they can really learn the best practices that are out there. So what's new on the accelerator front is that we're going to be rolling out one on human rights starting next year. So that's really exciting. Then we also have our policy advocacy and campaigns. This is largely new. We've done and run advocacy campaigns in the past, but the difference now is that we're going to be aligning them with our impact goals. So on the lead and shape areas, those 5 lead and shape areas I've talked to you about. And we're going to be working more with government than we've done in the past, obviously with our local networks, hand in hand, to help influence policy so that companies are set up to better align with these different impacts. If the regulatory landscape is providing those opportunities, and obviously in the case of Bulgaria, with all of the different frameworks that are coming out of the EU, clearly companies now have a very strong imperative to align with what's going on. And what's really great about the Global Compact is that it's preparing you for what is to come, for the different reporting frameworks of the EU that are coming out, that you are going to be, obviously, most of you mandated to comply with. And the Global Compact supports you on that journey. And so we're going to be working a lot more on these advocacy campaigns aligned with our lead and shape areas. Finally, we have our Think Labs. These are also brand new program delivery mechanisms that we have put together. A Think Lab is a smaller group of thought leaders that will come together and drive the rollout of new reports, new standards. And so this is really an opportunity for those leading companies that want to set a high standard and want to set an example to other companies. And so they can work with our guardians that will be sitting on these Think Labs amongst other leading companies to really drive pioneering thought leadership work around sustainability. And then obviously we'll continue to build out our tools and resources that are open source and available on our website. I'm not going to speak too much about the COP. As I noted, it's going to be coming next year. There are 60 mandatory questions. What's really great about this platform is that it's going to be the largest open source data on corporate sustainability. We already have 17,000 companies and we're growing. So you can imagine how much data we're going to have in this platform. And this data will be useful for investors, will be useful for governments that are going to be reporting in the VNRs, on the voluntary national reviews, as to how they're faring on the SDGs. And so clearly companies want to showcase what their companies are doing, because we already have established that companies have an incredibly important role in helping us achieve the SDGs. So this tool is going to be, for us, game changer. We truly feel that now we're going to be a true partner to governments and to investors, amongst others, that will want to use our data. So you participating in the Global Compact, you'll contribute to this wealth of knowledge. You will also be able to benchmark. This is an open source tool. So you will be able to see what others are doing, what your peers, what your competitors even are doing. And so this is going to be very, very useful to companies and to the Global Compact. And it's going to help us, of course, also track and measure progress, as I indicated earlier. Right, so what I wanted to do really quickly is just touch on the new fees that are going to be rolled out starting next year, in both those fees for those companies with annual revenues above 50 million and those companies with annual revenue under 50 million. So first and foremost, let me touch on those companies with an annual revenue under 50 million. It's the local network that has set the fee. You will see on the right-hand side, if you take a look, under 50 million, those fees are already set by the local network. It's very important that you contribute we are mandating local fees. So if a local network has a compulsory local fee, we at the Global Compact do mandate that. We enforce that. And so if the network, and in the case of Bulgaria, they are setting those fees, then those companies are expected to pay those fees. And indeed, you will be receiving a local value offering for those fees. And so there's clearly a value in joining the Global Compact and paying those fees. In addition to that, the Global Compact has also determined new fees for companies with annual revenues above 50 million. We at HQ set those fees. So you can take a look at the range here on the right-hand side. For those companies with annual revenues above 30 billion, which I'm not entirely sure if there are any at the Global Compact in Bulgaria that are at that range at this moment, they are now expected to pay $30,000 US. Those companies with a range between 10 and 30 are expected to pay 25,000, between 5 and 10, 20, between 1 and 5, 15, 500 million to 1 billion, 7,500, 250 to 500 million, 5,000, between 50 and 250 million, 2,500. And then, as I noted, the rest, as well as subsidiaries, is set by the local network. And what I also wanted to mention is you're probably thinking, how much of those funds are actually staying with the local network, so the local network can also grow and bring on more people to roll out more programs. So the way that it works is those companies with annual revenues under 50 million, including subsidiaries of multinational companies that are part of the Global Compact, that group, all of those funds are not shared with Global. All of those funds are retained by the local network, which is why it's really, really important that companies pay those fees, because you are directly contributing to the growth of your local network. So for the under 50 million and subsidiaries, all of those fees stay with the local network. For those above 50 million, this is where we start our sharing model with our local networks. We have a brand new sharing model that is going to kick in starting next year. How does it work? Basically, the way that it works is that the first $100,000 that is collected by the local network from companies above 50 million annual revenue, between 50 million and 10 billion, the first 100,000 that's raised all stays with the local network. All of those funds are with the local network. Anything above the 100,000 is then split 50-50. Yeah. And then for those companies with an annual revenue of 10 billion plus, we share 30% with the local network. So that just gives you a little bit of an idea of the sharing with local networks. So local networks hopefully will be in a much better state financially, assuming that companies pay those fees. And it's incredibly important that they do. So I think I just spoke to the summary of the changes, but here they are summarized, and I'm sure that we're going to be sending you those slides. So in a nutshell, as I noted earlier, we have merged the participant and signatory levels into one tier. There's no longer any differentiation. We've increased the price differentiation according to revenue size and introduced two new revenue tiers for the USD 10 billion and the USD 30 billion. So there's even more revenue tiers than there was in the past. We've increased the price differentiation according to revenue size and introduced two new revenue tiers for the, sorry, I'm repeating this. That's the same thing. And then for subsidiary pricing, it's determined by the local network with increased transparency, and there's increased implementation flexibility and network discretion to identify what those fees are. So that's really in a nutshell. So I wanted to again reiterate how important our local networks are. We have 64 local networks around the world. Our number used to be higher. The reason is our local networks must be viable networks. They are entities in their own right. And so what that means is that they need to grow, they need to hire more people so that they can deliver more on programming as it comes along and be of a enhanced and increased support to the existing companies, to help retain companies, and of course, recruit more SMEs as well as leading larger companies. And so our local networks, as you're all aware, we sign an agreement with them on an annual basis. They commit to representing the Global Compact in a particular country, and they localize the 10 principles and the SDGs in the country. And so they are incredibly important. What we've noticed is where we don't have a local networks, we have very few companies. That's why geographic expansion is so critical for the Global Compact. We need to launch more local networks, but we need to launch local networks that are sustainable and viable. And we need to continue to support our existing local networks. So there are a lot of channels through which we're going to be supporting our local networks, including through the hubs that we've established. So as I noted, we have the Dubai hub that's been established, and this hub is supporting our presence in Eastern Europe. And so we are going to be resourcing more, bringing on more staff to help our local networks as well as to help our companies. These are the regional hubs. So we have Panama City that supports Latin America and the Caribbean. We have our hub in Nigeria, Abuja, to support Africa. Dubai is Middle East, Eastern Europe, and Central Asia. Bangkok is Asia Pacific, and Copenhagen is Western Europe and North America. And here on the right-hand side, you could see what the hubs do. They manage regional collaboration with the UN system. They oversee network governance, management, and performance tracking. They provide operational support and capacity building to networks, as I noted, that are not yet operationally self-sufficient. They deliver regional programming and events. So we hope to deliver more regional program. We are yet to do this, but hope to do this starting next year through the academies, through peer learning groups, through the accelerators. They support the networks to provide input to global priorities and planning. This is actually a really important point. Our networks are now very core to our annual planning. We organize a number of events in the year, including what we call the annual local network forum, whereby we invite our local network executive director and staff to take part and to make sure that they are reflecting what you have all identified as local priorities, and to bring that to our global planning process. In addition to that, the regional hubs will be bringing on more consultants to support our local networks regionally through something called shared network services. So, for example, we're going to be hiring a consultant on fundraising, and this fundraiser will support our local networks, our 10 local networks in Eastern Europe, to create a pipeline of different fundraising opportunities and to support in submitting grants to unlock more funds. In addition to that, the regional hub is also, of course, as I noted, supporting geographic expansion plans, bringing on country managers. Here in our region, we've brought on a country manager for Azerbaijan. We've brought on a country manager for Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan. So there's growth in Central Asia already. And in addition to that, the regional hub is, of course, the liaison between local networks and the HQ. So I'm going to wrap up my presentation now. Key takeaways. The Global Compact is an opportunity for companies to connect through events, to learn through the various platforms that we have established, such as the Academy. It's also an opportunity for leadership, for companies that want to really affect change. So we have the Think Labs, whereby companies can come and sit with like-minded companies and really develop pioneering work. And it's also, most importantly, a communication tool. The COP is a public communication tool. The data that you're sharing is going to be public information. Anybody can see what you are communicating. And it, of course, enhances transparency. We will be increasingly driving impact on specific goals that I have spoken to you about. We will be scaling ambitious ambitious action. When we talk about scaling, it's working with not one company, but with many companies to set the exact same ambitious goal. That's what the accelerators do. the accelerators say, let's come together. We have maybe 600 or 700 companies around the world that participated in SDG Ambition. Imagine those 700 companies, many of them very, very large companies with quite elaborate supply chains that are committing to setting a living wage for their employees or committing to taking a zero tolerance approach to corruption. Imagine all of these companies coming together with the exact same intention, how much we're going to achieve. So we're going to be able to communicate what we've done collectively, and it's really exciting. We, of course, encourage companies around the world where there is a local network to join the local network. For those of you on the line, please make sure to engage very closely with your local network. They're going to continue to be rolling out local projects, local programs that are relevant to the local priorities. And in addition to that, there's also going to be, as I noted, more regional opportunities to come together and to share in good practice and to learn. And then finally, just a kind reminder, you all have a publicly available profile. Make sure that's updated, including the financial figures as well as the contacts. That's really important to make sure that your contacts are receiving invitations to events. It's the only way that we can contact you. And that's it. Thank you so much. I know I spoke a lot, so I'm going to stop now.
There is one question.
Yes, of course.
If I can give it to you, is there any opportunity for companies from the same sector to share experience?
Yeah, very, very good point.
Different countries, let's say the IT sector, but not only from Bulgaria, because we don't have too many from one and the same sector, but worldwide. Exactly.
So it is. So essentially, there are opportunities. We don't necessarily take a sectoral approach as it stands right now. We did in the past, but I suspect with the peer learning group, as well as with the academy, there is going to be more opportunities for a sectoral approach. So Darina, when we meet together in our regional meeting, we're going to discuss the rollout of these peer learning groups. And I think it's important that you bear this in mind, that the sectoral perspective is really important. So I would say that once you design these peer learning opportunities, that you can make sure that there is a sectoral component to it. In addition, when you're rolling out the accelerators, make sure that there's also a sectoral component to it. What I mean by that is, what you could do is you could convene companies that have signed up to an accelerator, and you can convene additional events and webinars that bring together companies from a specific sector. So right now, there isn't so much of a sectoral approach, but with the value proposition that's coming, starting early next year, there will be a lot of opportunities to design that.
Okay, thank you. I don't think we have any more questions for you right now. I'm here personally in person with the colleagues, and I will respond to all the questions. Probably there'll be a few regarding the business model and the fees when the companies look at the figures. But for now, we would like to thank you.
Okay, sounds good. And so that's it, yes?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye, everyone.